December 12th, 1912. Today's news and gossip and advertising is coming to you from Washington State, Oregon, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. Oh, and a couple skeletons from Chicago, Illinois. Just a reminder that the names have not been changed, as this news is over 100 years old. My news stories come from newspapers all over the US and the Commonwealth, so if one of your ancestors is in the headlines, they'll never know. First, can you imagine my shock on turning a page in the Acme News, Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and this jumps out at me. Splashed across the full width of the page. "You look prematurely old," announces the ad. And the small print exhorts me to get myself to a drugstore and buy a bottle of La Creole hairdressing. It's only $1. Actually, that was not cheap. But some places advertised 6 bottles for $5, so you could get a much better deal and more product by watching the ads for other drugstores. Here's another ad for La Creole hairdressing from a few years later. In color, a young woman is looking at a painting of a landscaped garden. Her gaze rests on a marble statue in the foreground. The statue is of 2 figures entwined. The young woman is blushing. A note underneath the image reads, "In the gardens of Château de Lude in France," and goes on to tell a story about the origin of the Creole people of the southern United States and their luxurious hair. I was more interested in the statue, curious really, so I looked it up. There is a Château de Lude, and that statue is in the gardens. But what is the subject? Even magnified, it's hard to tell. But the Chateau's website tells us that it is a statue of Hercules, slaying the giant Antaeus. In Greek mythology, Antaeus was the son of Gaia, Mother Earth, and as long as he could touch the earth, his strength was enormous. Heracles, the son of the goddess Hera, was on a mission, one of the 12 labors of Heracles. And at this point, he was being blocked from obtaining 3 golden apples from the garden of the Hesperides, a mythical garden at the ends of the earth, guarded by a fierce dragon and populated by nymphs. The statue shows him holding Antaeus so that Antaeus cannot touch the ground, which suffocated him. How all this relates to La Creole hairdressing is something I haven't figured out yet. I did find, though, that La Creole put their models in numerous exotic places around the world, just like the Maidenform bra ads in the 1950s and 60s. Like many concoctions of the time, listing the ingredients wasn't required, but the bottle does indicate that it contains over 12% alcohol. Back to news. The Bellingham Herald reports that in Seattle, a son-in-law tried to blow up his father-in-law by nailing a couple sticks of dynamite to the floorboards under his father-in-law's bed. Here's the story. Kit Gould, a well-known attorney, appeared at the prosecuting attorney's office yesterday with 2 sticks of dynamite. To one, a cap was attached, and he lodged a complaint against his son-in-law, Pardon J. Keyes, who he said had planted the dynamite under his father-in-law's bedroom with a view to blowing him up. Gould, with the dynamite in his hand, sought to explain every detail of the plot, but the prosecutor told him he believed every word of his story and asked him to please go away. Keyes, who is 23 years old, an engineer of a steam shovel for the railway, was arrested last Saturday, charged with threatening to kill Gould. According to Gould, Keyes had driven a nail through the floor of Gould's bedroom so that the place could be located from beneath the house. I was curious to learn more about the case and found an article of the same date, December 12, 1912, in the Seattle Star, where Kit Gould claims that his son-in-law is a member of an outlaw gang, the Sidna Allen Gang of Virginia, and claims that Pardon isn't who he says he is. In doing more research, I found that Gould had made up a story because he didn't like his son-in-law. The case didn't go to court because Kit Gould had thrown away the evidence. He was so angry that neither the prosecutor nor the police would charge his son with trying to blow him up and being an outlaw with a fraudulent identity, that Kit threw the sticks of dynamite, the evidence, into the waters of Puget Sound. Pardon Keyes and the Gould's daughter Eva were married on May 4th of that year, 1912. He was 23, she was 18. In September, Pardon Keyes started working for the Northern Pacific Railway. Their daughter, Evelyn, was born just 6 days before the dynamite incident in December. Pardon had asked Kit if he, his wife, and daughter could stay with the Goulds for a short time while his wife recovered. And Kit Gould said no. With the fallout from the negative publicity over the false accusations, Mr. Gould and his wife moved back to Chicago. I sourced some other documents, and it appears Kit Gould was a hothead who liked to fight. He even started a fist fight in court, in a case where he was the prosecuting attorney for a pharmaceutical firm. Outside the courtroom earlier, he had had to be restrained over picking a fight with one of the defendants, a pharmacist. Then when the pharmacist was testifying, Kit Gould became so enraged that he started the courtroom fist fight. I found, however, that there is a bit of a mystery around Pardon Jordan Keyes. His history will take a bit more investigation, but I could not find a connection to the Sidna Allen Gang. That was heavy-duty news. Time for another advertisement or two. At this dentist's office in Bellingham, you can get all your teeth pulled painlessly for the low price of 50 cents each. You will have nice dentures made without plates, they say. All work is backed by a 10-year guarantee, and they claim the prices are as cheap as good workmanship and material will permit. Interesting. Tapeworms for weight loss and better health. And you could eat as much as you want because the tapeworms growing in your digestive system would take care of all the food. This trend was actually revived a few years ago as a treatment in the alternative medicine sphere. It didn't last long. Over to Nebraska. The social column in the Bayard Transcript gives us a mysterious piece of gossip. George Milliken must have been sick last Sunday because he was seen at Castle Rock instead of Pumpkin Creek. Obviously, a public jab of some sort directed at Mr. Milliken. I didn't dig further into this bit of news as there were several George Millikens in that part of the country at the time. In Oregon City, Oregon, there seems to have been a very sought-after undertaker. R.L. Holman, undertaker, has received from Mabel Davis, Newark, New Jersey, widow, a letter inferentially suggesting matrimony. Holman declares he does not know the fair Mabel, but believes she has in some manner secured a picture of his handsome face. News from Chicago. A breach of promise court case that was the end result of a scandal. Suit for breach of promise against Mrs. Jeanette Deere Chapman, aged sister of the late Charles H. Deere, millionaire plow manufacturer, was dismissed several months ago, it was made known here yesterday. Dr. Kirk Stanley, a New York physician, was complainant in the suit against Mrs. Chapman and asked damages of $150,000. Mrs. Chapman is past 70 years of age, it is said, and is prominent socially. No reason for the dismissal of the suit was given by Henry Roth, attorney for Dr. Stanley. Interesting. Breach of promise was, and still is, used in cases where marriage has been promised by one party who then later changes their mind. Mrs. Chapman, on further investigation, was actually 86 years old, and Dr. Stanley was 36. This case really spurs the imagination. Maybe Dr. Stanley decided the gossip surrounding the marriage deal wasn't worth the trouble. We don't know. This ad appeared regularly in Midwest newspapers. The American Homestead in Lincoln, Nebraska advertises the glowing testimonial of Dr. E.H. Baldwin for a veterinary correspondence course offered by the London Veterinary Correspondence School in London, Ontario, Canada. Low cost, satisfaction guaranteed, diploma granted. You can do the course at home in your spare time, and it's taught in the simplest English. This makes me wonder how many veterinarians were practicing medicine with a diploma from a correspondence school. The Star Barber Shop in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, offered haircuts and baths. Hairstyles offered to boys and girls were Buster Brown and a French haircut. Below that is the claim, "We do anything in the barber line," followed by hot and cold baths, 25 cents. Questions. Was giving baths part of a barber's skill set? When did barbers take on bathing customers? Research tells me that baths were offered to single men only, as they didn't often have their own bathtubs. That's good to know. Buster Brown and his dog were comic strip characters who got into situations that they called adventures. They also advertised shoes. Sometimes they teamed up with an equally creepy-looking character called the Yellow Kid. The Yellow Kid had his own comic strip. In each strip, he's seen wearing a large yellow nightshirt with hand-lettered witticisms. It's a relief that his hair and clothing style never became popular. The French cut for girls was basically just very short bangs with the rest of the hair left long. From the photos, it looks like this was a style chosen by the mother. The girls don't look very thrilled. Stay tuned for more news of the day, more skeletons that probably wish they'd have stayed buried in old newspapers. If you enjoyed today's news, please let me know in the comments, and please like and subscribe so you can be notified when more skeletons in the closet appear. Thank you.